Tony interviews the Young Bucks in the ring. They note they're undefeated this year and thinks that makes us number one contenders. And they point to their own graphic as the number one contenders. Shivani explains how Sting isn't here tonight after the attack last week. And Matt complains about Tony's biased commentary. And that's in breach of contract for disparaging them. They're going to levy $1,000 fine. And then Nick uses his shoulder and knocks Tony down. And man, the crowd, they love Tony Schiavone. You do not bully this man. And then Matt apologizes. They go to help him up and they have him in position for the EVP trigger. And the crowd is like, no, not Tony. And then Darby Allin runs down into the ring with Sting's bat and tries to get it out the first time to explain the original mission statement. Something came out of his mouth. It was not those words, and had to do a retake on live television. Said the original mission statement was change the world, and said how when this company started, I begged for a job. You guys weren't interested, and I had to watch all your shit friends get hired, the California crew, and at least one EVP had the sense to hire me. And it's like, okay, you're really getting down to one or the other. So Darby eliminated the 50-50 chance here. And I'm not talking about Kenny, which leads to, of course, a Cody chant here in this arena. I was like, what are you doing here?
I know. I mean, it was clearly by design.
You want to make these EVPs like positioned as like they're clueless, but I don't know if I want to be leading to a Cody chant here on my program.
It was certainly interesting hearing this. And I mean, it fits within the story. You know, you're trying to portray the Bucks as the evil EVPs, while the good EVP has somehow left and is now main eventing your rival's top show of the year.
Right.
Like, the effect of it maybe doesn't sound great, even though it fits in storyline. But it was like a heat getting line, wasn't it? Like that kind of almost.
Kenny, though, you've also you healed Kenny in this as well. Like, yeah, he didn't want to hire me either, and Kenny is not on this.
Kenny caught a stray
evil EVP side, so that was interesting. He said how, and he brought up how they were reportedly staying here at AEW because the travel was easier, the money was really good, and now it's no longer about changing the world. He said, "Do you know who was on the first Dynamite? Not me, but Brandon Cutler was. What the hell?" And they end up making the tag title match for Revolution with Sting and Darby against the Young Bucks in Sting's final match. And when they put out the graphic, added that it would be a tornado tag match.
Okay, so just like we saw with Starks and Big Bill, and
to Sting's benefit, I think he has found his calling in these tornado tags.
Is it to his benefit? Because it demands a whole lot more for him. You know, he's not going to be able to take breaks, but he delivered, you know, in that Starks and Big Bill match.
But you get to do all the stunts. People want the stunts. Like, that is, you can't do a straight tag.
Could do the stunts in a. You're right, though. Like, I suppose if it was no,
they want to go all around the arena. I mean, it's to the benefit of the match to do it this way. But there you go. The match we knew we were getting, now confirmed.
I really enjoyed this Darby promo. I mean, you know, maybe did it result in AEW's upper management looking the best? I suppose. I guess you could question that, but overall, I thought it helped the feud. I thought it certainly made me like Darby Allin more. Like, this was almost the type of promo that felt very Punk-like, in that it said a lot of truths and almost things that you're probably not really supposed to say, or we think you're not supposed to say. Like, putting
he should have brought up here. I'm trying to be very CM Punk like, another guy who had a lot better knowledge around this place than most.
I mean, you know, he would be justified, I suppose, in saying that. But
you guys have only won 2 matches in your number one contenders. A real streak was by Jade Cargill, who went 45 in a row.
Oh, dude, you're on fire. That would be a lovely Darby Allin. I just thought it was like the type of like honesty or just like interesting content that made me pay attention and made me like Darby Allin more and deepen my attention into this feud.
Well, I did think the angle and using Tony Schiavone, it definitely worked for the crowd and getting, like, it's this Young Bucks turn. Like, it is certainly been with resistance from some, and I think it's tough to move to this role that they're going with.
Look at the graphic. It's the AEW World Tag Team Champions Darby Allin versus Sting versus, in bold yellow lettering, AEW EVPs Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. So are they putting that title up for grabs?
The EVP titles, no,
Yeah.
no, those are
No?
built into the deals.
I see. Using Darby's origin story to gain heat is clever, but it's interesting to see Cornette's all friends wrestling shtick become babyface material in AEW canon. Is that line from Darby going to be the most controversial thing to come out of the show?
The Cody line?
The Cody lines and just I guess the general sort of all friends wrestling.
I mean, it's defined controversial. I mean, people will weigh in on it.
Does it reflect poorly on the company to let that line go?
I wouldn't be encouraging to have like a big audience reaction for the top star in the other company that left your company. I just don't think like there's no value of that to you and your company. I could have done just without and I'm not talking about Kenny. Like, I mean, you could have at least just kept it open-ended at that point. You're probably not getting a Cody chant at that juncture, at least a more reserved one. But I also think like that in a vacuum, I don't think it's some horrible thing either. Like it is what it is. And it was probably like the very true, like this is what you're going to have like in a company where you're not like writing out promos for people and you give them a mic and stuff like that's going to happen. And sometimes it's going to result in reactions that are not as favorable for you, or it's going to shift perception of a character or even of the story that you're trying to tell. To me, it was just so not what I would be aiming for, but I don't think this is some grand tragedy either.
Yeah, like I mean, are we getting to the territory of making sure that you don't mention Cody at all? Then if you're I don't know, somebody cutting promos in AEW, like this was just Darby telling the truth of his own history. How many times
is Cody coming up in promos though since he left?
Probably a couple times at least. Probably several times.
He's been mentioned here and there. I don't think you insult your audience by pretending the guy didn't exist, but I'm also not going out of my way to
but this is the gimmick though. Like the feud is Darby Allin versus two people he thinks are undeserving of their EVP status or who he feels are corrupt, and sort of people who aren't in line with the original intent of what this company stood for.
Well, then Cody is not the babyface that's coming to back up Darby Allin and be the savior of AEW. He's not the EVP. He's not coming back to be the EVP to get this company back on track.
Yeah. And but does everything have to lead to an angle, like a match, for instance?
I think that you want to have some direction for this. I mean, you kind of want to have that figure that offsets this, and this kind of puts like Tony Khan in like this story by
puts Kenny in an awkward position for sure.
It certainly did in this promo, but maybe that line will just be forgotten.